sim racers from around the globe, honoring a revolutionary era of open-wheel racing. With a beast not easily tamed, roaring around legendary circuits at breakneck speed. When engineers and drivers push boundaries, sometimes too far. When heroes muscled roaring beast wheel to wheel around the hallowed grounds. A time when the only driver aids were his 2 feet. Perfect combination of man, machine, and speed. Experience the competition and the glory of the early 80s IndyCar action. The Lionheart Retro Series, presented by Sim Experience, starts now.
After back-to-back victories to kick off the year, Sage Karam heads to the desert with a first championship in the Lionheart Racing Series powered by HyperX on his mind. Domination at Watkins Glen, followed by chaos at the virtual Homestead Miami, but now the Lionheart Retro Series heads to Arizona as Karam looks to make it 3 out of 3 this season at the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. Hello and welcome back to RaceSpotTV for continued coverage of the Lionheart Racing Series. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati, and I'm joined by Dylan Cole for today's actions. TV cameras are provided to us by iRacing.com themselves. Additional car cameras provided by RaceSpot's own Tyler Maxson. You can follow along with live timing and scoring by heading on over to timing71.org and using their world-class suite of data analysis tools to follow along with the best in the real and virtual world of motorsports. Let's dive right into our HyperX pre-show because the Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. Dylan, very excited to be back. For the first time, we go short track racing. Phoenix at 1 mile, not necessarily known for being a short track, but we saw tires being very important at the Homestead Miami Speedway. Even more important today when dirty air is going to be so important. The most cars that have finished on the lead lap in this race in the past, just 11. That, I think, indicates just how important attrition will be.
Yeah, and hello to everybody watching. It's going to be an interesting race. You know, it's not going to be the same passing fest, I guess you should say, like Homestead Miami was, but you're going to see a lot more of drivers having to deal with dirty air around the short, intermediate track. There's really no way to categorize this, right? It's a 1 mile track, but it feels like a short track, and that's going to lead to a lot of difficulties, I'd say, when trying to make passing work.
Drivers have talked about that difficulty, but let's take a look at our driver standings after 2 weeks presented by Sim Experience. Karam leads by almost 28 points or so at this point now, but of course he's on a run at this point, I should say, that is going to put him in contention of being one of the first drivers to win 4 Lionheart Retro Series races in a row. Notable names up here in the championship, though, Dylan, include the rookies. Great runs from Danny Roberts, Nick DeGroot, and Matt Taylor so far. They find themselves nestled in the top 10.
I'd almost expect a lot of rookies to be battling for some of the top 5, top 10 positions in the championship this season by virtue of there are so many rookies in the championship. I mean, over half the field comprises themselves of rookies. So, not a surprise. Trevor Malone, I know he's not a rookie, but he hasn't had that much experience. He almost got a win at Homestead. So, I do wonder, is he going to get that oval magic back a little bit tonight here at Phoenix?
That teal-colored machine should be very strong to take a look at. Rookie standings first, presented by Butt Kicker. Of course, Roberts, DeGroot, and Taylor find themselves in the top 10. DJ Clark, GSRC's own Clark, after a very impressive podium run in our season opener, finds himself down in 4th. Some work to do on the ovals, but of course, some big names that we'll watch out for. Of course, Dylan does say lots of these rookies as well. The team standings, though, presented by HyperX. I think this is going to be a back-and-forth battle, Dylan. You can see Raven Motorsports, Graphics LC, an Uncontrolled Chaos, Elite West. There is not many points separating all of these teams, and it is a very long 18-race calendar.
Yeah, an extremely long 18-race calendar, and there's really nothing that you can do to separate any of these teams. I mean, look at this. We're 2 races in, and all that changes in the standings is, well, one driver, that's it. One position can change a complete spot in the table. I mean, that just leads to an exciting next 16 rounds, and I know we're talking about the standings right now, but from what we've seen, we've had an oval, we've had a road course. This is, I guess you could call a short track. We're really going to so many different disciplines already, and it's a nice sneak peek of what will be to come for this season.
I've really enjoyed this season so far, and somehow we're only 2 races into it, or so I've been told. Here are your series details presented by -273, the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or a sim racer, -273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on -273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit -273.biz, and don't forget to use promo code -273LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. And we took a look at those championship standings, Dylan. Arai noticed the defending champion finds himself committing full-time to the Lionheart IndyCar Series. We will have a new champion this year, and you know what? It's quite hard to discount Sage Karam so far.
Yeah, Sage Karam, the first ever driver to start off a season with 2 straight wins. I mean, he wasn't having the strongest of runs, I guess, earlier tonight in the IndyCar iRacing Challenge. And you know what that means? It means he's going to be hungry to get some positions gained and potentially some positions kept here today. Did not have the best qualifying run at Homestead, but I don't think that necessarily matters on the oval. It's really about keeping your car clean, and I can tell you what, there's going to be a lot of incidents with cars going 20 miles per hour slower than others on turn entry.
And I think, strategy is going to be so important. Let's take a look at some of our event details here. We return to the desert after a year's hiatus. This race has been run in 3 of the previous 4 seasons so far. Race 1 won by the one and only Lionheart IndyCar Series king, Adam Blocker. But Mark Cohn, the defending race winner, he took the lead in the final 30 laps of the race and actually claimed his first ever Lionheart race win after an incident between the leader, Dylan McKellar, and Sage Karam and Dustin Wardlow. We saw the prior 2 drivers there competing for victory at Homestead, Miami. But I'm not so sure about today, Dylan. I think pole position is going to be oh so important. Staying out of trouble, like you said, as well. But pit strategy, rather. Undercut will be very powerful, but at the same time, we've seen these cars turn into rocket ships on late race runs.
Yeah, these, because it's so difficult to pass here, I mean, it's really a one-groove track. You can maybe get a run around the outside or maybe down inside in turns 3 and 4, but when you're going into turn 1 and 2, you really want to get a dive down low. You want to get the largest arc you can into the corner. It's so different to Homestead than that. I mean, it's funny. We're still talking about ovals here, but each oval section, it's so different from one another, Arjuna.
Well, you can see there, Gatorade victory lane on the iRacing service. Karam has already visited the HyperX victory lane on 2 occasions this season. Like Dylan says, he looks to try and become the only driver to make it 4 consecutive race victories in this competition, but he's got some competition today and the next time out to deal with. Here is the track map. The very unique configuration of the Phoenix Raceway, nestled in Avondale, Arizona, Dylan. You've got that big dog leg, which, of course, now is littered with cones. Drivers are going to be unable to cut the track there. It does mean that drivers trying to go 2 and 3 wide have to watch out through that very tricky back straightaway.
I don't think they'd want to cut too much, just with how much these cars can get unsettled. They'll definitely go to the cones. I don't necessarily think it's the most flat there compared to the back stretch banking. So it's going to end up being very minute cutting, I guess you could say. But yeah, the cones are there. You go around 3 and 4. It's the flattest section, flattest turns of the track, and it's honestly flatter than that dog leg in the back. That will be, I think, where we're going to see the most passes happen.
I think passing is going to be tough today, Dylan. I'm not sure how confident some of the drivers are as we say hello to you for the first time in quite a few races as well. A little bit of disconfidence in some cases, a bit of worry in terms of how traffic is going to play out as well. If you're a driver who starts at the back of this field, how do you approach this race?
If you're a driver in the back of the field, you've just got to hope that you keep your car clean. You can pick off one driver at a time because this is not the kind of track that you're going to make up multiple positions on in one corner on one lap. You got to go 1, 2, 3 laps at a time. That's the important part about Phoenix in the Lotus 79.
And qualifying then gets underway for the third time this season. Solo car qualifying, get 5 minutes to set their fastest lap times. Only 2 timed attempts as well. So we have seen certain drivers maybe hold their horses, wait till late in the run to head out onto track. Not so Sage Karam today. There you can see championship leader has a brand new car. We've seen him in the white. Sage Karam is going to get a new HyperX car in the first 2 rounds of this season. And now with that brand new machine, looks very spiffy as well. See what the qualifying lap time is going to be for him then. And this, I think, you said he doesn't need to qualify that well like we saw at Homestead. Based on what we saw just a few moments ago with those series details, qualifying, I do think, Dylan, especially for the likes of Karam on that roll, it's going to be crucial across the line for the first time. I think the lap time was a 24.140. What is it going to be this time around?
Well, yeah, and you know what? There's a big difference in speed when you have a in-race lap versus qualifying. The last time we came here, Season 3, the pole time was actually a little bit slower. Every time it's a little bit slower than the in-race lap time. And where does Karam show up? Look at that!
Late lap attempt there for some drivers incoming. Karam provisionally in 9th. That is not where he would have wanted to be. Where is Ricky Harding, I wonder? One driver we've seen qualify very impressively on the ovals so far. He's still down on pit road, yet to head out onto track for a run. Provisional pole goes to Chris Fowler, who, of course, did have pole position as well at Homestead, Dylan. So Fowler clearly enjoys qualifying in this Lotus 79. It is a very interesting skill because, of course, fixed setup, they qualify on full tanks of fuel.
Yeah, it's a unique combination that we don't necessarily see in a lot of leagues where it is a fixed setup, it is a full tank of fuel, and as Ricky Harding gets his laps underway. You know, I always wonder, Arjuna, where do you stand on this issue? And no, it's not pineapple and pizza. We already go over that too much. It's, do you like to qualify right when you're able to, or do you like to wait and see where you have to hit?
Well, I think it's a bit different on an oval, at least if you ask me. I usually, especially with relatively static weather conditions, they don't vary too much. I'd prefer to just get my run out of the way and relax before the race itself. 2 different mindsets, of course. On the road, I do maybe appreciate the need to wait and see how much you need to push. How much is Harding pushing? This is his first lap around. Still just over 2 minutes left on the clock as Danny Roberts. A very impressive showing from the rookie. Provisional pole with a 23.249. It's a 23.665 for Harding, Dylan. That bodes very well as he builds up the speed here on lap 2.
Oh, he got so close to the outside wall. We'll catch this view from the right front tire. And as he comes down all the way, dipping below the yellow line, he'll come back onto the front stretch. We'll see what his time is, Arjuna.
23.269. It's oh so close, but he's 0.02 of a second slower, and that puts him into 6th position. That gives you an indication of just how close these lap times are. And Dylan, with 175 laps on the agenda, if we go green, 23-second lap times, that is going to be a very quick race.
Yeah, it would be an extremely quick race. I feel like most races at Phoenix in open-wheel cars are generally quicker than a lot of others, just by nature of how the car works, how the track is. It's just a quick race, but it's a lot of mileage, and we're going to see a few pit stops. Adam Young, oh, he got a little bit loose.
It looked like he almost hit the wall and overcorrected as well. 23.907, so based on what we saw with Ricky Harding just a few moments ago, does not indicate that Adam Young is going to trouble even the top 15, I would say, at this point in time. Karam is all the way down in 21st position at this point. He's got a lot of work to do, Dylan, if the qualifying order stays as it is. Paul Slavonic, Richie Hearn, Lionel Kalisto, they'll be the 3 cars that elect to start from the rear of the field.
And you know what? It might not be the worst decision to do that. I know we've been talking so much about the importance of your starting position here, but Arjuna, at the same time, it's so important to keep your car clean, and that's going to be a lot harder from the back than it is the front.
The last time we came here 2 years ago, 11 cautions, 43 laps under caution as well, and just, I believe that was 6 lead changes. Mark Cohn, of course, taking the lead in the final 30 laps after the leaders took each other out. But let's go trackside here then from Phoenix, Arizona, and take a look at starting grid and our KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. Here's a look at the butt kicker starting grid. It is Danny Roberts on pole position. Very impressive run from the rookie. To the outside, Chris Fowler, pole position at Homestead. Oh, so close here at Phoenix. Alex Guyon, another rookie, back in third position. Trevor Malone on the outside of row number 2. Matt Taylor in the number 8 machine. Very impressive runs from him in the opening stages of the Lionheart Racing Series. He starts on the inside of row 3 with Ricky Harding on his outside. Dustin Wardlow back in 7th. He'll have Chris Reagan in the purple and black machine alongside. Mark Cohn, former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year. He starts back in 9th position alongside teammate Chris Lanini. Craig Forsythe makes his Lionheart Racing Series debut alongside Jean-Francois Matt. That's row 6 on the grid. Big Joe Hassett, Robert Mikes, they're row 7. Series organizer George Anzaldo, he's back in 15th position alongside Motorsports.com editor Nick DeGroot. Ariel Alanis, DJ Clark, they're 17th and 18th position. David Sirois, Paul Jenkins, Sage Karam, lots of work for him to do if he wants to make it 3 race victories to start this season off. On his outside, Ron Hacker, Michael O'Brien, Mike Rigney, they share row 12 on the grid. We've got a very big field of cars. Aaron Morgan, Covey Moore, Gary Corley, Isaac Snyder, Chris Staples, Caleb Benke, another newcomer to the series, all the way back on the edge of the top 30. Final cars that set qualifying lap times. Adam Young, Mike Razmas, about half a second separating our qualifiers. And Lionel Kalisto, Paul Slavonic, the teammates, they're 33rd and 34th. And then Richie Hearn, former Indy 500 driver, he brings up the tail end of the field. As the cars begin to roll off, we have a number of onboard looks to get through in today's race. So let's quickly dive on through them. First up, it is series organizer George Anzaldo. He has your KARNOX onboard camera. Makers of the finest esports gaming chairs, we've got your back. Visit KARNOX.com. Sage Karam has the HyperX on board. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers, and HyperX is always ready to game. Mike Razmas has the Graphics Esports onboard camera, world-class design from the real world to virtual. Visit GraphicsEsports.com. We are moments away from getting underway then as the pace car pulls down onto the safety of pit lane. 175 laps about to get underway here at Phoenix, Arizona. Let's get underway with the KARNOX 175 as a rookie brings us to the green flag and we go 3 wide across the start-finish straight further back in the pack. Looks like Nick DeGroot has a rearview mirror filled with Sage Karam, David Sirois, and DJ Clark as we file our way down in through turn 1. But already, Dylan, an indication of the craziness we should expect.
There is no better time to pick up positions than lap number 1. And look at this. Sage Karam is also going maybe 3 wide down into turn 1. He is. We look at some spots closer up to the front of the field. And everyone's starting to get back into single file. But not Sage Karam, by the way. Trevor Malone right there in that teal car. He wants some spots too.
Karam is already up into 16th. Look at the train of cars that's formed behind the IndyCar driver. And Nick DeGroot in 17th with Alanis Sirois and DJ Clark edge of the top 20, 2 wide, 2 deep in this grouping of cars, but you do get an indication further up of the single file nature of the racing as it's top 5 right now. Danny Roberts, Chris Fowler, Alex Guyon, Trevor Malone, and Ricky Harding, who's unfortunately not enjoyed the best start to today's race. And looked like Caleb Benke as well, his side by side with Adam Young at the tail end of the pack. This is amazing stuff, Dylan. We should expect that these cars will loosen up throughout the course of the run as well. Drivers did think that just surviving these early couple of laps would be the key factor.
You know, what's the best line going through 1 and 2? It looks like 2 different lines were taken, and they both equally helped out. We get the battle for 20th right now. Some drivers just deciding to go down the inside, some going down around the outside, but neither gives too much of an advantage.
Let's jump on board back in the pack because you can see there's some too wide action in front. We ride with David Siwa in the 99. The car's trying to cut as much as they can. Watch the varying lines being taken here, Dylan, as drivers search for clean air. Siwa is going to go slightly higher than DJ Clark in front of him. And that's the story of the race that we'll see play out now over the next 170 laps. We're already 5 laps done with this thing.
Yeah, it's going to be a quick race, knock on wood, because if there's any cautions, well, maybe it won't be. We thought Homestead was going to be caution crazy. It wasn't.
Yeah, very true. We saw some very respectful racing there. Similarly here, Dustin Wardlow up on the outside as Mark Cohn side by side. And Wardlow sweeps around the outside. That Pink Panther machine did not look as comfortable on the inside as I might have expected at this point in the run, Dylan. Fresh tires, but we don't see so much tire wear in this car, but it's still a factor that drivers have to deal with because they won't be taking tires throughout the entirety of the race.
Yeah, not at all. And I believe around lap 67, 68, we're going to see that fuel window open, which could lead to some interesting strategy when it does come to the end of the race, since it doesn't look like they'll need a full tank at the very end of it to make it.
I think that's Big Joe Hassett down on the inside as they go 3 wide for a second. Craig Forsythe on the outside. Sage Karam tries to make up a number of positions, but he thinks a little bit wiser of it. 13th position at the end of the day, though. It's a very impressive start to the race for young Sage Karam at this point, Dylan. And if he continues this momentum as we work towards the halfway stages, he'll be in and around the top 5.
Yeah, I mean, so early in this race, and it's already lap 9, and we're seeing him go almost 10 positions higher than he was at the start. Like I said, the best spot to make up positions is lap 1. Well, he's stretching that just a little bit.
We'll get this great onboard look as well throughout the entirety of the race from the roll bar, similar to what you see in the NTT IndyCar Series, but of course, we turn the clock back to the wonderful Lotus 79s. These drivers really on the edge of a teach-in at this point. Karam gets fed some dirty air by Joe Hassett and now tries to find a lower line to run. You can see, though, momentum switching back and forth in front. Mark Cohn now to the outside, trying to get around Dustin Wardlow. He makes it stick. He's up into 8th position, Dylan.
You know, pretty soon we're going to have to start worrying about lap traffic, and I have no idea how the leaders are going to be able to get by them efficiently. Already, Gary Corley, the last car in this race, 35th, is 10 seconds behind the leaders.
And you can see there, Danny Roberts using the clean air has managed to build up a 1-second buffer over Chris Fowler behind. Of course, fixed car setup for all of these drivers. No switching in between qualifying and the race. They have the same in-car tools that they had at their disposal during qualifying. We only got through, by the way, 3 of our onboard cameras in the opening formation lap of the race. One more to talk to you about as well, and that is Chris Reagan, who's carrying the butt kicker on board. What you see and what you hear is what you feel. For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com. To 4 onboard looks. We will, of course, have onboard cameras with all 35 contenders in today's race. And you said traffic, Dylan, with 35 cars. We said only the maximum number that's finished on the lead lap is 11, but already 11 seconds is the gap between Corley and Roberts. So in about 14 more laps or so, Danny Roberts will be right in the thick of the traffic.
Just a little bit in the thick of the traffic, right? All of these drivers, you'd hope they'd see the leaders coming and get a little bit out of the way. It's just, where do you go? Because you get out of the way and then you're going to hurt the car behind. So there's no right place to go at this track.
The only right place not to go is into the wall, and I've done that on a number of occasions, just through dirty air.
Or the leaders.
Or that as well, you're right. But it's hard to really just emphasize, Dylan, what dirty air means, because it's such it's a word that has so many different connotations as Big Joe Hassett tries to get to the inside of Craig's Forsythe. Nothing doing there, but you saw, for a moment, just how close Sage Karam got to the wall there.
Yeah, that was my worry as well. Sage Karam is flirting with disaster. He's gotten loose a few times, especially going into turn 1 as we ride on board here. And now we switch back. Look at that. You can never miss Trevor Malone.
That teal-colored machine is very distinctive. He doesn't just run it in one of the Lionheart Racing Series competition, but in all 3 of them as well. Mark Cohn has gotten around And you can see Malone slides up the track by about 2 lanes, and here comes Dustin Wardlow right behind him, trying to take advantage. Chris Lini has done a good job as well, but you will see left side of the screen, the top 10 now separated by about 6 seconds. You do start to find groupings of cars developing behind there. You can see Karam and Big Joe Hassett, they're still side by side. Craig's Forsyth very, very happy that he's got a couple of laps now not to worry about the challenge from behind as Sage Karam up into 12th position. I wonder if Joe Hassett will try and sling it back to the inside. Thinks better of it for now. Take a look from the rearward shot. I love some of these cameras that we can get on the iRacing service, Dylan. I forget who it was. Oh, it was Ben Constant-Juris about 3 weeks ago, and we were at a race at Le Mans, and he was saying, oh, can you tell me what camera that is? Because I need to take a picture of that and send it to the actual TV director at Le Mans, because he needs to have that in the real world.
You know, there are a lot of benefits to virtual racing in this service, and part 1, it's a lot cheaper. Part 2, it's a lot safer. Part 3, you get some pretty shots with it that you can then put to the TV directors and get them to staple some of the cameras on board with some beautiful shots. This one, though, is a staple of the real world.
Well, I was going to say as well, it's not just us in the broadcast booth that get that flexibility. One of the Lionheart sponsors, SimSnap, does a great job capturing the moments and emotions of all of the races. You can follow along with Lionheart social media to stay involved with all the work they do as well. We ride on board with Dustin Wardlow. Was hoping to use this wonderful roll bar camera just a little bit, but we are seemingly at that point in the run where, at least in the top 10, unless your name is Sage Karam, you don't really have too much to work with. And unlike what we see in the Lionheart IndyCar series, Dylan, we don't have in-car tools. We were talking about this before we came on air. The only thing drivers can do, well, use their 2 feet and the steering wheel in their hands.
Yeah, not have... Oh, no, the cones! Oh, and a yellow! Looks like everyone is okay.
I believe that's Ron Hacker. That might be the one car that is unfortunately going to find himself done for the day. Indeed, yes, he's already reset onto pit road. So the first RaceSpotTV replay to take a look at, and it does involve Ron Hacker. Looks to the inside. That might be his...
Oh, that's a lot worse than it looked like.
That is a lot worse than it looked like. Struggling to pick out what car it was as well, Dylan. Let's see if we can go into the super slow-mo. It's a Graphics LC car. Can't read the car number from here, but it's just that inside car coming up. It's the number 68 of Mike Razmas. Yeah. Now let's see if we can spool it back and take one more look from his onboard.
Like I said, a lot safer. Mike Razmas said apologies. It looked like netcode to him. You know, still that brief... that little moment where you don't see them necessarily touching, but that's going to lead to a lot of race over signs for these drivers. 3 cars involved. I don't think anybody else, unless, yeah, just 3 cars. That could have been a lot worse, Arjuna.
I'm not sure, by the way, who the other car was. Was it Slavonic or was it his teammate there?
Let us check. The cars that are smoking, I guess you could say.
It looks like one of... excuse me, I'm forgetting the team name right now, but the team that has that very distinctive wood trim on their car. I believe it might have been Paul Jenkins. He's still stationary on pit road. He's been there for 20 seconds so far. And indeed,
Ron
yeah,
Hacker,
you can
Mike
see...
Rigney.
That is the car I was thinking of. Let's see if we can spool up the replay one more time, Dylan, and figure out what happened to Jenkins as well.
Yeah, that's rough. There's not much you can say is any one person's fault. So we're riding on board with Paul Jenkins. He sees everything going on in front. There's nowhere that he can go. He was already having an extremely rough race up to that point. He got way out of line into turn 1 on multiple occasions. And, you know, that's what we were saying. When you're in the back of the field, things happen, and you can't avoid them necessarily, especially with a track like this where it is 1 lane. And
they happen so quickly as well. That onboard that we had with Jenkins, I think, just gave you that indication of how quick you have to react to your speed. Still, you know, very, very fast lap times. The fastest lap of the race might actually be faster than pole position. Yes, it is, you know. Danny Roberts, 23.241, excuse me. That's the fastest lap in the race so far. Qualifying well, a 23.249, so very interesting numbers there. Pace car lights are off, so we're about to get back to green flag racing. First caution is then done here. We have not had a lead change just yet. Will that change as Chris Fowler has one more opportunity here on the green flag jump? Danny Roberts, though, with a very impressive launch. He leads across the start-finish line by almost half a second. Ricky Harding to the inside of Alex Guyon. Almost contact between the two of them, Dylan, but they make it work, and we stay single file.
Yeah, this is going to give some momentum to Chris Reagan, who potentially could make a move on Ricky Harding going around the outside, maybe with some momentum. I think he got a little bit too high, however, and he might lose some speed. No, he's fine, just not going to gain any traction.
So the top 16 cars did not come down onto pit road. The big names that did, the likes of Matt Taylor, Mark Cohn, Trevor Malone. So very interesting split strategy here that has helped Sage Karam jump his way up into 6th position. He works now onto the inside of Chris Reagan. That might be a move that he gets done. Oh, Reagan will close the door, but Karam will sling it back down to the inside. What a move there, Dylan. But the outside momentum, here comes the fight back from the 19.
Yeah, that is, this is exactly what I was talking about earlier with what is the better line. Sage Karam going the shorter way, but the slower way around each corner, and Reagan is going to have the momentum on the high side. I prefer to be in Sage Karam's position right now.
I think Karam will actually get the move done midway through 1. Can he get the slide job? Wardlow will try and follow down the inside on the purple and black machine. Joe Hassard as well finds himself with Jean-Francois Matt, Nick DeGroot, and Jordan Zaldo all stacked up behind him. Once again, this restart has mixed up the middle of the pack, but again, Danny Roberts at the front of the field has already cleared Chris Fowler here, Dylan, by 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, already, and I think we can say kudos to that big jump that he got at the wave of the green here on this restart. That was the decider in getting that half-second difference.
And single file then here. Let's jump back to the edge of the top 10. This battle is really intensifying. Nick DeGroot, let's jump on board with the motorsports.com editor and writer. He's tucked up behind Jean-Francois Matt, two newcomers to the series. They really are putting on a show, not just because there are so many of the rookies, because week in, week out, they're already showing us that they'll be around the front of the field. It's a consistent theme of the Lionheart Racing Series, Dylan. It's not just about the established names, but there's always going to be new faces. I think of the Lionheart IndyCar Series, where we've got a 5-time official iRacing IndyCar champion as a rookie in the form of Henry Bennett.
Yeah, and he's a rookie, right? Nothing more than just being a rookie here in this series, but it just goes to show the talent. And who wants to be in any of the Lionheart series? We really have an awesome offering with 3 sets of disciplines for these drivers to choose from, and some of them try to race in them all.
Yeah, they really do. I don't know how they find the time for that. Speaking of drivers that like to race it all, we were talking of Trevor Malone in the teal number 34. He finds himself in 19th position now, 3rd of the cars that came down pit road. There you get a look at him working his way out of turn 4. Bit of clean air in front and behind, but the fuel window, let's talk about it, Dylan. It was meant to be a relatively simple 2-stop race. That last stop was going to be, I don't want to say short, but slightly shorter. The more cautions we have here, the more they start stacking up. Fuel is going to be a very important factor, and it really will come down to who has the best calculator in their brain.
Well, speaking about calculators, some drivers did go in, remember, on that last restart, and that was around lap 24, 25. So if they did fill up, which we're assuming that they did, then if my math is correct, if we do go green for a very long time, they're going to be able to go in around lap 90, 95. They'll stay out till then, while the other drivers will come in around lap 70 or something like that. It only really matters at this point if we get closer to the end on a big, long green flag run. As of right now, we can't really start talking about strategy just because we haven't had that long green flag run yet.
Much like what we saw, though, in the first race at the Virtual Homestead Miami, though, Dylan, very respectful racing and drivers giving each other plenty of room. They're not forcing the issue too early on. We ride on board with Ariel Alanis in the number 25, stuck behind the series organizers, George Anzaldo. He'll try and find a way past, but No one forcing a move so far. Out of the 35 starters, we've still got 32 cars circulating after the one and only caution.
Yeah, pretty good attrition rate right now. I thought it would be a lot lower, but as we did see from Homestead for the first half of the race, it was relatively clean altogether racing, and then it got a little bit choppy with everyone, a little bit hairy. So I do wonder if we're going to see some of the same here in actual IndyCar Series races here at the real-world Phoenix International Raceway just a few years ago. I mean, we did see how strung out everybody got and how these big gaps formed. And I don't think we're going to see just as big of that here, but I think we're still going to see some stringing out if we get green flag runs.
On board with Chris Reagan and the butt kicker on board. He's stuck in 6th position right now, unable to really close the gap to Sage Karam. You see him tucking the left front just below the yellow line through turns 1 and 2. Ducks down below that dog leg as well. Once more through turns 3 and 4, different lines being taken by all of the drivers. Karam just tries to roll momentum, build the speed out of turn 4 to try and close the gap to the driver that he was side by side with across the line at the conclusion of our season opener. Ricky Harding, very high line being taken by Karam there. Doesn't look as though his car is too comfortable. Reagan will close the gap. Back in the pack though here, Dylan. Couple of rookies scrapping it out. You've got David Sirois in front of DJ Clark, who had a very impressive debut to finish 3rd position. Back in 14th position right now, one of the last cars that didn't come down pit road. He really does need to make sure he doesn't get swarmed by the cars behind him.
And I think he's doing quite a good job right now. Remember, it's going to be hard to gain positions. I don't know if caution is out. Someone must have gone out off somewhere on the track. We'll get that in just a few moments.
There it is. It's Michael O'Brien in the 45 car, so we did expect a couple of cautions in today's race. Avatar Auto Racing, they have a car. Seems to have had a self-spin as well. We'll spool up the replay here, Dylan. And it looks like coming out of turn 4 with the 5 car behind. That's Caleb Bensey, newcomer to the series. Oh no, we'll have to take an aerial look at that one. There was definite contact between the two of them.
Yeah, that's too aggressive, I think. Too aggressive a spin to just be because of a self-spin. Remember I was saying before, we're going to see a lot of these incidents happening when one driver tries to go down low and another goes 20 miles per hour difference in speed. And, well, that's what happens there. Pretty clear on whose fault that is.
Oh, this time pit road is a much, much busier place. All of the cars that didn't come down that first time around, they come down. Everyone who came down, they find themselves cycling to the front of the field. So it will be Matt Taylor, Mark Cohn, Chris Lanini, your new top 3. Now the question becomes, who wins the race off pit road? Can Danny Roberts, Chris Fowler, Alex Guyon stay in the top 3 there? You can see Roberts has just reached into his box right now. And has he gone up on the jacks as well, Dylan?
He has. He's getting tires here. And he's going to lose the race.
He's not going to just lose the race lead. I think, you know what? Sage Karam might have beaten him out.
I don't know. I think Karam was just a 100th maybe behind there. And it looks like it's going to be Karam behind Roberts. But Roberts definitely did lose 1 position there, and obviously all the positions from the cars staying out.
I wonder if that was just an unintentional thing where he forgot to disable all 4 tires, Dylan, because of course you can set it up on the iRacing service. For those watching on RaceSpot or ESTV who are unfamiliar with how the pit stop system works, you can set it up in your options, if you will, before each race, if you want tires on each full stop or not. So it's an option that you can either enable or disable. I know some drivers like to have it disabled. I personally like to have it enabled.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to have enabled, right? I don't necessarily. Honestly, I've never even paid attention too much to it. I don't really do too many races to, I guess you could say, worry about having it enabled. You know.
Clearly, you don't do enough endurance races. That should be.
That's the fair one. Yes, I don't do any endurance racing. My idea of endurance is 50 laps at Bristol.
Well, let's not talk about some of that stuff that we've seen on RaceSpotTV recently.
Yeah, my idea of endurance is 20 laps at Bristol.
Well, I must say, second caution of the day, we had the minimum we've had, and I'm trying to knock on all the wood around me, is 8 in one of these races. All of them have been, apart from this first one that we ran in Season 1, which was 150 laps, the recent races have been 175, 8 to 11 cautions. I don't necessarily think, Dylan, we're already about almost a third through this race so far. I'm feeling pretty optimistic now about how the rest of the race is going to go.
Yeah, me too. I think drivers have been fair, but you know what? I scratch what I just said. I still don't have a good feeling about it, Arjuna. We're still, we're not even a third into this race. So when we're coming down to the wire and there's positions to be gained, I don't think you will see so many drivers acting too kindly to each other.
Lights are off on the pace truck, so it will be Matt Taylor at the front. He finds himself there as a result of strategy. He's got Mark Cohn, Chris Lanini, and Craig Forsyth making his Lionheart Racing Series debut behind him. Green flag waves for the third time today. We get underway once more at the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. Did look for a moment there. It was 2 and 3 wide action coming across the start-finish line. Sage Karam, Danny Roberts, who were scrapping it out. And Danny Roberts, Dylan, has lost out what might be a crucial position. Here comes Ricky Harding down to the inside as well.
Yeah, Danny Roberts has to be careful, especially right now, because he almost hovered a little bit too close to the outside wall around turns 3 and 4. Looks like he will slot back into position number 12 and get back on the horse. Sage Karam is in front.
That is crucial for Sage as well. He's now the second car that's on fresh rubber, or rather full tank of fuel, and if we go green for an extended period of time here, that might be one of the deciding factors that we look at. Caleb Bensi up into 8th position. It really is, Dylan, not just the rookies that we saw in the first couple of races, but in Craig Forsyth, Caleb Benke, 2 drivers making debuts of their own. They're running up in the top 8 right now. Incredible stuff.
Yeah, it is really incredible, but we do have to remember that it is partially because of the cycling out with the pit stops. Caution is out.
Ooh.
I do wonder, and it looks like he's already towed himself back in, and it's going to be David Asaurus.
Well, I can give you a bit of an update, Dylan, because I saw he was stationary on pit road for a significant amount of time as we came back to green flag. 3 minutes of damage repair there, and that, you know, is highly unfortunate. David does everything that he can do in his power to avoid the caution coming out.
Wow.
He went down to the very inside of the track expecting that would not bring out the caution. That is very unfortunate, Dylan. That is just the iRacing automatic race control system saying, car stopped on track, let's get the caution out.
iRacing typically has a fairly solid automatic caution system. There have been times where I felt like I was wrecked out and needed a caution, and they didn't come. So I'm surprised that was flown right there. Usually, if you're way off the racing line and it's just yourself, there's no caution thrown. So I do wonder if there was a bit of magic used to get that.
I wonder if maybe just the fact, Dylan, that he was all the way down on the inside. Of course, the dogleg as well must factor in differently than most infield sections would at a typical oval. I wonder if we just got slightly unlucky there. Third caution then of the day.
Yeah, definitely unlucky right there. And this is the most phantom a caution can be on the iRacing service. You know, this is iRacing's debris caution.
Well, I was having a debate with some people about stages and debris cautions recently. We won't dive into all of those details because IndyCar does it right, NASCAR does it wrong. But
wow, you're just completely. I was going to play it a little bit cooler than that.
No. I will speak my mind on this one. It's Matt Taylor, Mark Cohn, Chris Lanini at the front. We are under caution for the third time today in the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. Interesting stat that we didn't really talk about in the pre-race here, Dylan, was that there has never been a repeat pole sitter or race winner at this track. We continued that trend, of course, with the pole position record today, but Jason Galvin, Mark Cohn, they're 2 drivers that I'm watching out for now in the next part of the race to see exactly what they can do.
Yeah, and by the way, just before we continue on that, Mike Rasmus has been given a internet connection warning by race control, so we'll have to monitor that and see if he has to be taken out at any time. But What were we? Why I just lost completely what we were talking about when I was listening into race control there.
Well, no, what I was saying is that we've never seen, repeat pole sitters or race winners at this track. Jason Galvin, Mark Cohn, they were the two drivers in this series that I thought might be potential race winners here. Galvin has the most laps led at 97. He's not in today's race. Mark Cohn then, in second position, he finds himself in the prime opportunity to make some Lionheart history.
I think there's going to be a lot more twists in this tale tonight. We're on lap 52. Are we now halfway? No.
No.
A third of the way through? No, we're not. There's still a lot that will happen. We were saying that it would be a quick race, but now here we are, 2 cautions and a debris caution later, and we're currently not even a third of the way through. I wonder, this race, this might be our little endurance test.
Well, you're just talking about endurance races, Dylan.
Yeah. This is why I'm announcing it and not in the race. Why would I ever announce and race at the same time? That's ludicrous.
Well, just a reminder as well that you can keep involved with all 3 of these entities with the socials up on your screen: Lionheart, ESTV, and RaceSpotTV. We've got lots more coverage of sim racing action to come throughout the entirety of 2021. And for the 4th time today, green flag waves. Matt Taylor brings us back to the green flag here at Phoenix with Cohn in second, Chris Lanini in third, Craig Forsyth, and then Trevor Malone 4th and 5th respectively. Question becomes now, at least for me, how long does Sage Karam choose to be patient at this point now, Dylan?
Yeah, I know we talk about Sage Karam so much, but he really is one of the most aggressive drivers in the field, combined with being one of the best, and he's trying to dive down the inside of Chris Fowler. Doesn't work. He's going to lose some momentum here. Fowler, will he try and move into turn 1? He will.
Oh, look at the send as well, but the momentum from Covey Moore holds the position. Here comes Karam to send it down the inside through the dogleg. Wonderful racing here at Phoenix, and Sage Karam back up into the top 10. We do talk about him a lot, but like we say, Dylan, he always puts on a show. He has won 2 races in this series. He's also won a race in the Lionheart IndyCar Series. Sage Karam is on a mission for a championship this year.
Has never won a championship in the Lionheart Retro Series. He really wants one, of course, with being the all-time wins leader in this series.
I think it's 14 right now, right, Dylan?
I would say you are correct as well. That's 2 more than he had at the beginning of the year, which was 12, but I will double-check that for us.
Well, I'm going to be very, very bold. We're not even 3 races into this 18-race calendar. Sage Karam will have 20 Lionheart Retro Series wins by the time we get to Auto Club in December. I wonder if the championship will almost be secured as well. Let's jump back in the pack, by the way. Haven't talked about Richie Hearn too much so far. Tries to get to the inside of Lionel Kalisto. I like to say this, by the way, Dylan, but for those unfamiliar, Richie Hearn, not just an Indy 500 veteran, but multiple-time IndyCar competitor. It's always weird calling him a rookie. He's found a home in the Lionheart Racing Series right now. Sometimes has some slightly spotty internet, but today, no such issues.
Yeah, no such issues, and he's keeping himself safe. He's having a decent race, I guess you could say, for himself, because last time we did see him at Watkins Glen, and you know what? He was pretty strong there. Now, obviously, he's fighting for 25th at the moment, and it's all about putting yourself in a position to make some positions up at the end of the race. And you know what? A top 20, a top 15 here would be a dream for him by the end of this race.
And for his team, Elite West Motorsports as well. Good points on offer for all of their competitors. We mentioned that sometimes Richie Hearn has internet issues. Well, his internet routing decides that he did not, no longer needed to be in the virtual Phoenix area. Now let's jump back up in through the pack. See Chris Reagan, Ricky Harding, they're battling it out for 13th and 14th. Sage Karam has just got past Covey Moore. He's now up into the grouping of cars that has slightly less fueled, I would say, at this point in time. And this is where strategy will start to come into effect, Dylan, because I slightly alluded to it. When these cars are low on fuel, they become rocket ships. But at the same time, the undercut is a very serious thing here.
Yeah, the undercut is huge. You can gain so much time. Actually, scratch that. You can lose so much time with worn tires compared to drivers with new tires, that it can make that undercut so powerful. The only question is, where do you slot back out? Because it is so hard to make positions, and you've got to be careful, even if you have ridiculously fresh tires, that it does make it a question of, do you want to deal with all the traffic you're going to face that isn't necessarily for position?
A wonderful shot from the air right now. I am loving this racing. We are 63 laps into our 175-mile event here at Phoenix, and 3 cautions, only 2 involving cars actually making contact with one another. Drivers are showing immense respect. Strategy is coming into the picture, and Dylan, let's talk about that strategy. When these cars came down on pit road about 20 laps ago, that did change the strategy. I think Sage Karam finds himself in the prime position when it comes to the strategy battle.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it also relies upon your driving ability too. Because, yeah, it's going to put you in a better spot when strategy calls do come at play, but you've just got to take care of business on track. Because, again, there's still so much time left in this race that we don't necessarily know what's going to be the right strategy call until we really know it. Once there's 70 or so laps left, that's when we're going to start being able to say, okay, well, if we go green for the rest of it, this is who's going to be the benefactor of this call or that call or whatever.
And again, with attrition being so important, we haven't really thought that lap traffic was... I got myself all tongue-twisted there. Lap traffic has not been as large a factor, Dylan, as we thought it has because of these cautions. Caution flies for the 4th time today as well. Believe it's Gary Corley that is spun out of turn number 1. And the wonderful black and gold Dark Horse Racing Machine RaceSpotTV replay to try and take a look at then here, Dylan. Spooled it back to the wrong car. Here we go, side by side with the 78 of Paul Slavonic.
Oh.
And a nasty contact there. Let's look at this one more time from that aerial look.
Yeah, I want to check this out again. We'll get a great shot here with this incident, and I guess we'll be able to put a little bit of fault on whoever. There's a huge gap, comes back up high. Yeah, that's it's definitely not on Corley right there.
Well, the interesting thing that I noted was Slavonic actually put multiple tires below the yellow line, so slightly different choice of line in the corner, maybe compromising the way that car rolled through the middle of it. Slavonic comes up into Corley. Corley, the big loser. Pit stops underway. We were just talking about strategy. Sage Karam stays out on track, Dylan, in what is a very interesting strategy call.
Yeah, it definitely is, but you know what? Track position is so important, and he might be thinking to himself, you know what? There's going to be more cautions in this race. I want to get myself onto this strategy in case we go green or we have some timely cautions in the last third of the entire event.
Well, they're pinning right around our projected green flag fuel window. 67 to 68 was what race control had indicated would be the typical window. Matt Taylor then, the first car out of pit road, cycles down into 14th position. Lots of dirty air in front of him, lots of work to do as well. I wonder, Dylan, if we've put a bit of the RaceSpotTV curse on this race. We were just talking about how well it was going, how much respect was being shown, and well, maybe we do have to take a little bit of the responsibility.
You know, typically the responsibility for calling jinxes all lies on your plate, Arjuna, but I'll accept some of it. It's not the most delicious plate of food, but I'll take some of it. I still think that the racing has been fairly respectful. We've only had one incident that was 3 cars, more than 2. We've had 2 two-car incidents, and then we've had, obviously, the 1-car incident, if you want to call it that. But yeah, these cautions, you know what? The good thing is that with it being a 1-mile track, so it's registered as a longer track, even though it feels like a short track, these caution breaks are not terribly long.
They really are not, you know. We're talking about caution laps of about 63 seconds, give or take. I'm trying to think, Dylan, what's the track that calls itself the world's fastest short track? I think it's Richmond, right?
Yes. No, it's Bristol.
Oh, no. One of them calls themselves the world's fastest short track, specifically for open wheelers. So it's either Richmond or Iowa. That one is for sure. The point being, though, the caution laps there, sometimes as long as 90 seconds.
Yeah, Iowa. It's Iowa. You're right about that. I thought it was Bristol, but you know what? I looked it up, and no, it's Iowa brands itself as the fastest short track on the planet. So good call there.
The only reason I know that, Dylan, is because I did my research for a broadcast there once, and it's stuck ever since.
I thought you were going to say I did our research for this broadcast, and I was going to be like, are these shots fired or are they not?
Well, the great thing is, with the lights off on the pace truck once more, I will shout out all of the Lionheart Racing Series admins. They do a great job keeping us informed. We get a great media guide. It does not just include the fuel windows, various stats and facts as well, but the safety truck back down onto the safety of pit lane for what feels like the 5th time today. That's because it is the 5th time today. At the front, Sage Karam, Chris Fowler, they lead a whole train of cars that stayed out once more on this caution. Let's get back to green flag racing at the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. Where are the first of those cars, Dylan, that have come down pit road, you wonder? Matt Taylor in 14th position, as I think Gary Corley has already had a bit of an issue. He's reset back onto pit road. We stay under green flag conditions this time then.
Oh goodness, I thought we were going to have another yellow.
I got a little bit worried there, but all is good. Danny Roberts has recovered up into 3rd position now. He's got Ricky Harding, Chris Reagan all over his rear end at this point in time. Let's jump on board with the series organizer, George Anzaldo, and the KARNOX onboard camera that he has. He's stuck in 10th position right now, Dylan, and once more, we'll see the different lines being taken, and I think by the time we get to lap 175, you will see cars all the way up, ripping the wall, trying to find momentum.
Yeah, and I do wonder with how the track state will be as we continue going into the night, as we continue going into this race. We're not going to see temperatures really change all that much, but where we will see is the track getting rubbered out. So we might see from all the cars running up high, especially around 3 and 4, is that a line will form and momentum will be up there.
Jean-Francois Matt then in front of Anzaldo at this point in time. Wardlow and Reagan, we saw 3 wide for a moment just in front of them. Chris Reagan has dropped from 5th down into 7th. Nick de Groot has taken advantage of Jean-Francois Matt, tries to sling it down the inside as we cross the halfway point of this race. Sage Karam leads by 7/10 of a second and looks to try and make it 3 race victories to start off this season. And the question really becomes then, Dylan, with the strategy, I like to put my commentators on the spot. I'm going to make you give a prediction here. Who's going to win this race?
Who's going to win this race? Oh, man, you're giving me this prediction so early. You're just giving me the chance to jinx it. I'm going Sage Karam. I don't see anyone else who's going to win this race. I think Sage Karam is going to make it 3 for 3 for the 2nd time in his career and the first ever driver to make it 3 wins in a row to start a season.
He came into this race with just 33 laps led at this track. He has struggled a bit more than one might have expected, but is very much swinging in his favor. Great battle, by the way, between George Anzaldo and Jean-Francois Matt that we've been taking a look at over the last couple of laps. We're at this point where I'm starting to wonder, not just for these drivers, but you can see in front of them Dustin Wardlow, Chris Reagan, they're starting to get a bit more feisty. Reagan will really rip momentum, as you can see. I think that's Ariel Alanis all the way up on the outside. No, excuse me, that's George Anzaldo in the blue and black. So we will start to see different lines start to develop. And I wonder if we'll start to see lead changes start to happen as well, Dylan, because I don't think we've had one under green flag conditions just yet.
Yeah, and I think that just goes to show you how important having clean air is at Phoenix. You know, a lot of short tracks when we have open wheel cars there, we've seen in real world circumstances, such as Iowa. We didn't really get to see them back at Richmond because of everything going on in the world. But we did get to see them at Phoenix a few years ago in IndyCar. And you know what? There were not too many passes for the lead during green flag conditions because of the dirty air, but it provides a different challenge for these drivers. You know, if we had every race like Homestead Miami where it's just back and forth, then it wouldn't be as special as it was.
And it really makes you work for your race victories as well. That's a very good point as well. We're going to step aside here live on RaceSpotTV for a quick commercial break. Don't go anywhere. Continued coverage from the Lionheart Retro Series continues after this. Welcome back to Phoenix and the KARNOX 175 and coverage of the Lionheart Racing Series on RaceSpotTV and ESTV. As we come back from commercial break, it's a pass for the race lead as Chris Fowler takes the race lead away from Sage Karam in his quest to make it 3 race victories to start off the season. My name is Arjuna Kankipati, alongside is Dylan Coyle. And Dylan, we have just seen the first pass for the race lead under green flag conditions, and it is a significant one.
Well, of course it came right at the end of that ad break right there. We were talking about it. There had been no green flag passes for the lead in this race so far. Right there, it was one, and Sage Karam is now falling off like a rock compared to Chris Fowler.
I wonder maybe if fuel saving is starting to be a thing as well, because as we extend this run, Dylan, 44 laps so far on the stint for the likes of Fowler and Karam. Yes, they have had to do some laps under caution, but the left side of your screen, let's show everyone what the stint lengths are right now. You can see back in 14th position, it's Matt Taylor leading the charge of a number of cars on an alternate pit strategy now.
Yeah, and you know what? This alternate pit strategy, it's going to only help, though, if we do remain green. I wouldn't be shocked if we have some late yellows in this race, and then all of a sudden everybody gets back onto the same pit strategy, and then all of this discussion was for nothing. But you know what? That's the fun of rolling the dice here at Phoenix. We don't know exactly how this race is going to go. Theoretically, we get to lap 105, 106, 107, drivers could make a pit stop and say, you know what, roll the dice here. I'm going to go on some fresh tires, and if we go green for a long time, I'm going to be in good shape.
On board with Chris Reagan in the purple and black number 19. He's tucked up behind Nick de Groot as we ride on the roll bar camera from the 19. You can see they are starting to lose out to the cars in front of them. Reagan starts to get more aggressive, rolls the outside as he tries to find momentum to pass the 89 in front of him. Watch the over-under attempted down into turn 1 now, Dylan. De Groot's going to try and defend it, but momentum on the side of Reagan.
Yeah, it's some great defending right here, and as we get back onto the backstretch, who's going to have the momentum? I think, caution is out. And we'll have to see exactly what happens. Arjuna, you're quicker at it with me. But, we've got a car flipping over. It's Chris Staples.
It is Chris Staples indeed, the number 96 with some very distinctive colors on it as well. Upside down, went for a toss, and RaceSpotTV replay then to take a look at here. They're almost 3 wide, and it was with... I'm struggling to see from that angle that we had there. We're just squeezed into the wall. And we'll have to take a look from the onboard there from Richie Hearn, because I think he had a car that went hop, skipping, and jumping over his roll bar there.
I think his roll bar is not as shiny as it just was. We catch on board Hearn. You know what? That might not result in any damage to his car.
It is an interesting one. Let's take a look at this aerial coverage brought to us by ATVO, the graphical partners at RaceSpotTV. You can see they try and go too wide in front. It's just a bit of a checkup, unfortunately, for Chris Staples there. The car behind, I think it's Slavonic, has not much time really to react at all. Richie Hearn, I think, might have gotten away with one there. Back to live pictures, though, Dylan. Pit lane, once again, very, very busy.
Yep, it's busy, and some of the drivers that are in should not surprise you. Sage Karam into the pit, so is Chris Fowler. So they're going to be on the same pit strategy, and you know what? If we get a few more cautions, they might be able to make the entire rest of the race on a fuel run. I'm not, you know, we're still 10 laps from that point, but if they wanted to just stay out, they could. They shouldn't, because tire life is so important here.
Well,
yeah.
Just remember, Dylan, cars are not taking tires in today's race. We saw this at Homestead as well.
Well, some of them did. Some of them did. We did see some of them earlier.
I think in the case of Danny Roberts that you're thinking of, probably just a mistake more than anything there.
Well, you know what? Danny Roberts is pretty high up in the order, at least before that pit stop. So I'll take what Danny Roberts is having with that.
So I tell you what, let's left side of the screen once more show you the, in this case, not stint length, but the last pit stop lap for all of these drivers. You can see it's Chris Reagan and George Anzaldo. They are being brave. They are being bold. They last pitted on lap 44 as we work lap 95. They are 50 laps into their stint, and Yes, there have been a number of cautions so far, but with a fuel window of about 70 laps, Dylan, that is an interesting call.
Yeah, it is. You know, I think we're going to see some more cautions before we do get to the end of this race, and everyone else, I'd say they're probably banking on that too. They just hope they're not going to be at the end of it. You know, I'm surprised. We've only had, we haven't had the big one, I guess you could say, and with how tight this track is and with how quickly these cars are racing each other, I'd expect more than an incident to come where it's more than 3 cars involved. And I don't have any wood to knock on, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see a big one come before the end of the race. Not to do some fear-mongering here. I just, you know, lights are out there, and lights are still not out on my worries for that.
Well, I will say, Dylan, if anyone's getting their commentator's curse out today,
it's me.
Yeah, it's you. You're really setting yourself up for some trouble here. But like you say, lights are off on the pace truck. Is this our 6th caution of the day, or am I miscounting?
No, I think you're correct. It's either the 5th or 6th. 5th if we're being conservative with the estimate there. I'm pretty sure we're on the 6th. There was that Phantom one, remember?
There was a Phantom one. We should be fair, because David Siwa really did try his best to make sure that we stayed under green flag conditions. Out of 30...
A gentleman's yellow.
A gentleman's yellow. I like the way of describing that. Out of 35 starters, we are down to just 28 cars. Dustin Wardlow, Mark Cohn, contenders early in the race. They find themselves at the tail end of the field. In the case of Mark Cohn, he's down 1 lap as well. Chris Reagan at the front, though, brings us back to green flag conditions at the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. We have a lot of intrigue to work our way through now, because I hadn't even noticed, Dylan, that Dustin Wardlow, Mark Cohn had found themselves struggling so much.
Yeah, I hadn't even noticed that either, and I think that's just because of all the great racing that we've been having throughout this entire run. Mark Cohn is the only driver that's a lap down right now, and I think that, you know, I don't know, maybe he is going to have to race his way. I don't see how he gets back on, because I'm not sure if there's is there a lucky dog in this series? Remind me if I'm forgetting.
Well, going back to the point that I made earlier, this is not NASCAR, so no, there is
no... Right, there is no fake artificialness to it. If we have a yellow and it ends the race, that's the way we do it here.
And that's the way that it should be done as well. Just for the record, you're the one who said that this time, not me.
I heard you being blunt, and I wanted to be blunt as well. I couldn't be outmatched there.
I'm loving it. This has been a really fun race so far. We've got about 76 laps still left to go. This is the mid-pack battle. Covey Moore, edge of the top 10 with Alex Guyon, Sage Karam, Chris Fowler stacked up behind. Of course, number of cars that came down onto pit road just about 6 or 7 laps ago. It is marginal on fuel, but I do wonder if the likes of Karam, the likes of Fowler, and the likes of Harden all maybe have fuel in their mind. You can see, I don't think Sage Karam is really fighting at this point too hard to the cars in front.
Can we just focus on who is in P2 right now? George Anzaldo. He's never won a race. He's the main guy behind the series. What a great job he's doing right now.
And that track position game as well has really worked in this favor. How many starts, you wonder, for George Anzaldo? 68 different starts so far. That is commitment to the cause. He has been the main linchpin of the Lionheart Racing Series powered by HyperX since day one. How many top 5s does he have? Because even a top 5 is something that George has struggled with in this series, Dylan. He's only got 2 in his 68 starts.
Amazing. And you know what? Chris Reagan, who's in first, he has not had a win. This is his 24th race as well. So we always have been talking about this. Drivers who have been in the series for quite a while, of course, in the case of Anzaldo, they can get a good spot here, a good chance to win this race.
What a story that would be as well. It's only the 3rd round of this season, and I think celebrations might extend all the way to Auto Club in December. A fascinating scrap then starting to develop here. We have had a number of cautions, but that always just means that safety cars and strategy takes on that extra intrigue. Where do we head next time, Dylan? Because we've had 3 very different races to kick the season off. The next one, not even close to what we've had. We head to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park.
Yeah, we go there, and you know what? I'm excited for that race because like Watkins Glen for me. Maybe if we didn't have the boot portion, this more so, it feels like an oval road course. Does that make sense whatsoever? Just with the fast-flowing corners, there's really only maybe two corners that, well, I guess in Mosport likes to call it 3 separate parts of a corner. I believe that's, what, is that Moss or Sterling?
Yes, that would be the Moss corner, yes. And you're right.
Corner.
You know, it really does race more like an oval than most traditional road courses do. And that's why I think that the NASCAR Truck Series has always been so entertaining to watch when they go there. I will say, we're a couple of weeks out from that race, Dylan, but it's hard to kind of persuade me at this point in time that it's not going to be Sage Karam domination on the road courses once more. Yeah,
but you cannot forget the first Triple Crown race of the year is succeeding that at Pocono Raceway. Oh, man, that's going to be fun. And guess who is presenting that one? Chris Fowler Racing.
Hey, Chris Fowler. You know, pole position in both of our ovals so far, Dylan. It's a skill to qualify well, especially when you have a fixed setup that is effectively the setup that you're going to race on as well. So maybe a bit of a trend that we're going to be seeing here. No points awarded for, no championship awarded for the most pole positions. And you're watching a fantastic battle as Alex Guyon is going to get up into 10th position around the outside of Covey Moore.
Yeah, and it looks like Sage Karam is going to pounce right now on Covey Moore. A run down the inside. Oh, they're going to get very tight coming off corner number 2. It looks like Karam is going to take the inside. Does not have the momentum, however. Going into 3, they almost touch.
Oh, what a great camera angle this is. A great livery as well on that number 15 machine. He holds off Sage Karam. And oh, look how close that they got coming out of turn number 4. Almost contact. Karam throws it down the inside once more. I don't think this is going to work out in his favor, though. Look how close they come once again, Dylan. And this is for 10th position.
Settle it down, boys. Settle it down. We still have a good amount of race left to go. Sage Karam, he knows how important these points now are. As he just cuts in front. Is he going to clear? And he does, but only momentarily going to 1. What a battle.
Oh, they almost touched about 4 times in 3 laps or so. Chris Fowler will try and take advantage of this now as finally Karam clears Moore up into 11th position, but has to defend once more as they enter into turn 3. Almost contact once again. Oh, these drivers are cutting things so close, but it's all working out. I think finally Karam can say move is done, sealed, and delivered.
That was a little naughty by Sage Karam there. He got right in front of Covey Moore and said, Covey, if you want this spot, you're going to have to drive through me, and he did not do that. I feel like there's a few Formula One commentators that I always think of, mostly the old NBC sports crew that always said, calm it down here, calm it down. There's still Steve Matchett, I believe, was the one that always liked to say that. Just calm it down here, boys.
Calm it down for 21st as well. Mike Rasmussen unable to hold off Chris Lanini, who I think has scooped his way up into 21st position. And look at the names here, Dylan. You've got the likes of Lanini, Rasmus, Richie Hearn, and of course DJ Clark, who is struggling a little bit more today than we saw at Homestead. Yes, Clark was a bit of a benefactor to some of the late race cautions that we had in our season opener, but has not been the easiest run. And I think a driver that's going to be looking forward to some of the races we have coming up on some of the bigger ovals.
Yeah, we're going to have, I mean, Pocono is entirely different, and this is what I love about this series. There are so many different types of racetracks, and look who's in the pits. It's Trevor Malone. I wonder if this is scheduled.
Malone is also down with Chris Reagan, so out of the 2 cars that started this race, this caution, a green flag run out front. They're down on pit road, and Zaldo follows them the next lap around. Now, the crucial thing, Dylan, is if we get a caution at the wrong time here, these drivers are going to be in trouble. They will be laps down from the rest of the field.
Right, and that's going to be entirely difficult to come back from unless you are able to get on when the caution comes through. I'm always forgetting words right here. What if all the drivers come into the pits, which I don't believe that would happen, they'll be able to get the wave around. There we go. I just don't see that happening. So they're really going to be clutching their pearls right now to make sure that everything is okay.
Well, at this point, actually, you know what? The wave around may work in their favor because we're at the point where I'd expect every car to come down onto pit road, top off for the final time in this race, and then it would be a sprint to the end. Which car has the least fuel? And talking about fuel, who can forget dramatic fashion in which Jason Galvin won his very first Lionheart Retro Series race? Christopher trying to burn fuel under caution with a car that was very new at the time, Dylan, and drivers didn't necessarily understand the various intricacies of the ways that the engine worked. And Christopher, leading the race under caution, blew his engine trying to burn some fuel off.
That's why I like to run in the higher gears when it's under caution, just because I don't want to do anything that would be catastrophic like that. Hasn't stopped me from doing stuff like that, though.
No, me neither as well. Craig Forsyth, by the way, on his debut in the Lionheart Racing Series, 3/10 behind Matt Taylor. Very impressive showing for him. He's 1.2 seconds clear of Robert Mikes as well. And I tell you what, good opportunity to jump on over to Robert Mikes and take a look at our sim experience driver profile. 46 starts for Rob Mikes, also known as Bob Mikes. 15 top 10s, 5 top 5s, and 2 wins, both of them coming in Season 1. He's been a member of the league basically since day 1 as well. And 2 victories in that first season. Dylan has struggled since then, but running up in 3rd. Great to see Bob up at the front.
Yeah, it really is great to see him. And you know what? It's nice to see a lot of drivers we haven't necessarily seen up front go to the front, right? We've had stints where, obviously, Reagan, we've had stints where Trevor Malone was in the top 10. I think we're going to see more of that as this race goes on. It seems like it's the longest green flag run we've had, I think, which is hard to believe. But everyone's strung out right now. We don't really see too many battles, and then as we say, everyone's strung out. Thank you, race director Arjuna, for proving me a liar.
I found the one battle basically up on the screen right now. It's DJ Clark, Dustin Wardlow. Clark around the outside. Very good run there from the 65. We mentioned the struggles for a number of drivers. Wardlow is one. Still unclear as to why the number 9 car is all the way down in 21st position. The bigger story to me is Mark Cohn at this point in time, Dylan, because Cohn, 26th. He's right in this little pack that we're following along with right now, but he's 1 lap down and owes us a pit stop very shortly.
Yeah, Mark Cohn is just going to hold out for as long as he possibly can to hope that there is a caution. He's probably the only driver on track that is hoping for a caution right now, because if there is, then maybe he's going to go back, maybe not go into the pits. I'm not sure what his strategy play is right here, but I know one thing: hope for a caution, and preferably hope for a caution when you can get back on the lead lap. I just don't see how many laps he's going to have that opportunity.
I'd wager any point from here is probably safe, actually, for the caution to come out. Left side of your screen once more. Let's show everyone the last pit stop laps. You'll see 68 for most of the front runners, 67 for Kalisto, just by virtue of where his starting box is. Then Karam on back. They pitted on lap 94. It is very, very questionable if Karam can get to the end of this race without cautions and without any type of splash and dash to the closing stages of this race. We, of course, saw the likes of Enzaldo, Reagan, and Malone down on pit road the last 10 laps or so ago. They would be good to the end, but of course, Dylan, they find themselves in that 1 lap down position.
Yeah, and this is where I think that they'd be safe with the caution coming out, because I would see everyone coming down, but there always could be that one straggler who decides, nah, I'm going to stay out. I'm going to have fun and make a lot of people very upset with me, which obviously would hurt any chance at getting a wave around.
Lap traffic, by the way, for your leaders. This might be one of the first times that we've talked about that actually being a factor. It's Covey Moore in the 15 machine, who also came down onto pit road with the likes of Enzaldo and Reagan. Finds his mirrors filled with Matt Taylor, Craig Forsyth. I have a feeling they'll be asking to get on through very shortly, because the gap now down to less than 0.3 of a second continues to close as Matt Taylor gets fed the dirty air by a lap down car. Here comes Craig Forsyth, Dylan.
Yeah, Craig Forsythe is so happy to see that there is some lap traffic that Matt Taylor is having to deal with. Finally, Taylor is able to get by. Forsythe, though, he's going to lose a lot of time courtesy of this lapped car. There is not much you can do except just work on the wheel, chop at it to try and get by. And after all of that, look who still holds that semi-healthy advantage.
Yeah, it's 0.3 of a second still, but definitely has come...
Semi-healthy.
It's gone back up, actually, now to about half a second. So, give or take, back to where the equilibrium was before they started to try passing the lapped cars. Robert and Mike's, by the way, is down onto pit road this time around. That might open the floodgates for some of these cars at the front, Dylan, because, of course, they're about 64 laps into the run so far.
Yeah, and 64 laps, that's not going to work. Craig Forsythe, he is heading down the pit lane, right on cue.
That is a very interesting call. I wonder how many cars will follow him down. Ooh, great shot there as you see Craig Forsythe able to get down onto pit road speed. Who follows him from behind? It's Alex Gouillon in the 08 for Lavoie Motorsport. So a pit stop window will start to open up. And Matt Taylor on through. Caleb Benke will cycle down onto pit road in the next couple of laps. That will free up Sage Karam, who has managed to close onto the back of these leading cars as Matt Taylor, Caleb Benke, and Aaron Morgan all come in. It's only Lionel Kalisto still out there now, Dylan.
I still believe that Sage Karam is going to come away with this one, but I wouldn't be so... I would... If I'm an odds maker, I'm pretty happy because I feel like I'd make a lot of money from people trying to wager on this because I don't know who is going to win this race. A lot of it comes down to if we have a green flag run for the rest of it, which I would still be surprised with, but we're reaching that point now, Arjuna, where there's not much time left in the race. I mean, Sage Karam, who is in P1, has just started, or is halfway through lap 135. When he crosses the line, there will be 40 laps to go.
And even with these cautions, the race has flown on by. It's been one of the defining traits of the Lionheart Racing Series so far this year. And reminder, you can follow along with RaceSpotTV and ESTV over the course of 60 live broadcasts in 2021 and 3 of the finest Lionheart competitions and the finest sim racing competitions you can find on the iRacing.com service. Taking a look, by the way, at some of these all-time stats, by the way, Dylan, we've talked about consecutive wins on a number of occasions. If Karam can take victory today, he will not only equal his own record when he won back-to-back at Watkins Glen, Donington, and Mosport, but he will become one of only 2 drivers to have done it twice as well. He will join Alex Saunders in that accomplishment. And really, 3 race victories in a row in any of the Lionheart Racing Series, that is an accomplishment and a championship statement.
It's just a little bit of an accomplishment, right? Nothing too special. Nah, it's unbelievable. Sage Karam doing it twice and doing it to start a season would be quite a story, but the good thing is we have a lot of other drivers who a win here would be quite the storyline. I mean, we're talking about, right, Chris Reagan. We were talking about George Anzaldo a little bit earlier. That's the great thing about this Retro Series, that in the Lionheart Retro Series, there are so many stories that we can come up with right on air, and you know what? We're very thankful for that as broadcasters.
It's always nice, especially when you do have 6 cautions, and I'm not saying it's been a tough race to fill with content. We've really enjoyed ourselves, Dylan, and
yes,
I don't know about you at Watkins Glen as well. Not necessarily as much action for the race lead, but I thoroughly enjoyed myself there as well.
I feel like ovals and open wheel on ovals, it's some of the best racing you can ever get, bar none. I mean, is there really much better racing than some Indy 500s we've had? No. I'll show you some great races from there if you can show me some of the best road course races. And don't get me wrong, there are some unbelievable road course races. I mean, a lot of them come from mistakes, though, too. And when you have mistake-filled races, that's obviously a big part of what makes a great race even better. But at the same time, you know, there's I feel like ovals you can have a lot more naturally progressing excitement, if that makes sense. Like, I love all forms of racing. There's just something about open wheel and oval.
No, I think you're right. And I think there's also a reason that the iRacing Indy 500 is the longest running of the quote-unquote special events. And I think entering its 12th year of running this May. So that is incredible. And you talk about real-life history of motorsports as well. I was talking with a radio show Limited this past weekend about how 69 years of the 12 hours of Sebring, we've only got 7 iRacing Sebring 12 so far, but very much a very rich history starting to develop. And we've got the same thing coming in just 30 days' time. We're only 30 days away from the month of May, if you can believe it, Dylan.
What? It's April 2nd on the East Coast now. My goodness. 12:01 here, 11:01 Central Standard Time, or Daylight Savings Time, I don't even know. And it's still pretty early in the nighttime where you are, Arjuna.
It is not too late at all for me as well. Very much enjoying the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. We're watching the battle for 5th on back. Nick DeGroot, motorsports.com, a writer and editor, is holding off the challenge of Jean-Francois Matt, Mike Rasmussen, who does have a victory in this series, and then Ariel Alanis. So 3 rookies, out of this grouping of 4 cars. Looks like our rookies will have a very strong showing, not for the first time this season. The Rookie Championship really is going to be one to keep your eye on. You can see the top portion of your screen now, lap 146 being worked by your race leader, Sage Karam. That means 30 laps to go and 30 miles to go as well, Dylan. That will really fly on by. The lap times, we're not talking about the race lap record just yet, but Sage Karam with a 22.924, it's only about 1/10 of a second off that lap record, a 22.826.
Well, you almost need to be in a spot where you get the benefit of a draft without much of the downside of dirty air, right? I think that's where it comes down to. Sage Karam, how much longer can he go? Is he good to go for the rest of this race? Because I'm looking, his last pit cycle, I believe, was when he went into the pits during that caution. So he's not good if it goes green the entire rest of the way. He needs to go into the pits one more time. And honestly, even if there are yellows, he's going to have to get lucky at this point.
Well, the important factor here as well, you can see 55 laps on the stint for Karam so far, but if I can press the buttons quick enough here, Dylan, left side of your screen once more, let's look at those stint lengths. It's now all the way back to 14th position, all on this same strategy right now. It's going to be a close cut thing, but Matt Taylor diving his way down into turn 3 and 4. If we're thinking about the pit stop window being about 34 seconds, give or take, Karam will have a slightly shorter pit stop. I'm starting to think Karam might cycle out to the lead of this race once more.
Yeah, and I think it's possible, but we still need to see how some of the dominoes do play out, because some drivers did go into the pits, remember, that are a lap down, and they're good for the rest of the race. So are they in a better situation because they got the undercut of sorts, a large undercut? We've got so much time to still try and figure that out. We don't know yet. We really don't.
Well, the lap times, if you're curious, between...
They're the same.
No, the last time around, Taylor was almost 1.5 tenths slower than Sage Karam at this point in time. So you can see Sage Karam across the start-finish line right now. Matt Taylor is about to cross the start-finish line, Dylan. We're talking about lap times. Again, 23 seconds, give or take. If Sage Karam can minimize that pit stop time and bring it down to a 30-second delta in the pit road, Sage Karam might lead this race coming out of pit road.
Exactly. Wow. Sage Karam, if he is able to pull this off, I mean, this will be one of the best stretches in Lionheart series across all 3.
And you alluded to it slightly earlier as well. Karam's not necessarily in the best of moods coming into today's race. He was partaking in the IndyCar iRacing Challenge and that 3rd and final round of the 2021 season at the Sebring International Raceway. A contact made with Chip Ganassi's Alex Palou. Karam a bit frustrated in the Lionheart Discord about it, but always in just good spirit and good jest. We'll focus in now on the year ahead, still trying to confirm his Indy 500 plans. We're watching, by the way, top 5. They're all dicing around. Mike Rasmussen and Jean-Francois Matt are getting very intimate with one another at Dylan. I think that's the best way to describe it right now.
I definitely am happy you described it that way. We've got some good battling, though. Look at who is in P9 and fighting for P8. I believe gets it. It's Richie Hearn.
And I don't think he even set a qualifying lap time. Important point of the race, though, left side of your screen, you can see Sage Karam has come down onto pit road. He is followed down by Ricky Harding, so with 20 miles to go, Dylan, this is when the floodgates will open. De Groot down on pit road as well. No one is going to be good. Now where does Sage Karam feed out in relation to Matt Taylor?
Yeah, and that's really going to be the big question here. You know, Matt Taylor, he's got the speed. Don't get me wrong. He's got the speed, but is he Sage Karam at the moment?
So Karam rolls off a pit road. Here is Taylor already up to racing speed. He will pass Sage Karam, but it is going to be very, very close. And 19 miles left here at the Phoenix International Raceway, Dylan. It's going to come all the way down to the checkered flag. The largest margin of victory at this track in the past was all the way back in Season 1. It was just 0.12 of a second.
Yeah, and that was the biggest difference ever with a race here. We might have a larger finish that is still within 2/10. Can you imagine that?
So Razmas and Jean-Francois Matt, they are still out there along with Dustin Wardlow, but Ariel Alanis, Chris Lanini, Richie Hearn, and Adam Young all down onto pit road as Richie Hearn, very short stop for him, rolls out of his box, tries to find some position. On board, let's jump with... Caution was out. I was seeing an incident. It's Big Joe Hassard as well, and that has really shaken things up. There are cars that are down one lap that include the likes of Danny Roberts, Nick de Groot, and many of the big names, Dylan, that we thought would be in contention.
Yep. So basically what we're seeing right here is racing gods really enjoy putting us in suspense. This is going to be crazy. So we've got the replay right here, way out of the racing line, way into the wall, and back into the wall, and almost got back into the wall.
Does Dirty Air...
uncontrolled chaos.
That too, but I think Dirty Air really is something that we were harping on early, Dylan, and yeah, sometimes we do know what we're talking about.
Yeah, just sometimes, and that team name, well, it's... I wonder if he thought about it in moments like this.
Well, uncontrolled chaos then for Big Joe Hassard. We've got interest at the front of the field. Dustin Wardlow has to peel down onto pit road. He will find a relatively less positions lost due to the now changing nature of the field. The likes of de Groot and Roberts will cycle back to the lead of this race, but trying to do the math in my head, Dylan, I have a feeling we will get back to green with 14 laps left in this race.
Oh boy. So would you like a sprint or would you like an endurance race? We were talking about that earlier. I believe we now have a sprint race on our hands.
I believe we have a sprint race to conclude the endurance race that we've been seeing over the previous 160 laps.
Well, at least endurance racing doesn't always have yellow flags, except the in real life we had that great 24 Hours of Daytona, that finish that, you know, similar to that.
Yeah, that was a very good finish as well. Had a great conversation with the team at Radio Show Limited about cautions during iRacing special events on the past weekend's iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring powered by VCO. As always, great for RaceSpot and the amazing team at Radio Show Limited to partner up for continued coverage of the iRacing special events and the VCO Grand Slams as well. That will be a lot of fun to watch out for on RaceSpotTV. And I tell you what, while we're under caution, we've got a lot of cars expecting to get a wave around right now. Just a reminder, you can keep in touch with all of us on social media. The Lionheart Series, of course, 3 different competitions that take place over the course of 2021. 60 live broadcasts, all to be found on RaceSpotTV and ESTV. If you want to stay in touch with us at RaceSpot as well, do get involved with us. Subscribe to us on YouTube. Hit the bell next to it as well to get notified every single time we go live with the great sim racing series that we get to cover. Also a reminder that live timing and scoring is powered by our partners at timing71.org. You can head over there to follow along with the best in the real and virtual worlds of motorsports using their world-class suite of data analysis tools. So the wave arounds will be coming this lap, and I think that means, Dylan, my math was slightly wrong. I think it's going to be 13 to go when we get back to green flag racing.
13 to go when we do get back to that green flag, and my goodness. You know, I'm trying to imagine the scenarios that everyone expected to play out, and I think this was on the nuclear option for everybody because it just throws everything into the wind. We don't know exactly what is going to happen, you know. We've got Matt Taylor starting up front. Sage Karam, I mean, is that really a surprise? Starting in second. Aaron Morgan coming from 25th back. Lionel Callisto, right? 33rd. And it looks like they're getting going right now.
Indeed, so I didn't see the lights were off on the pace car. Back under green flag conditions at the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. Very impressive jump from the top 7 or so cars. They've left the chasing pack in their dust. Jean-Francois Matt in 8th position is 2.5 seconds off the race leader, but it's going to start getting hectic now. This is the crucial moments. Taylor, Karam, and Morgan have all been impressive at the early portions of this season so far. They want to claim victory, and what will be a very important victory as well, Dylan.
Aaron Morgan is 8th in the series in top 5s, but has never had a win. He is so close he can taste it.
And such an opportunity with Taylor and Karam scrapping it out in front of them. They trip over each other like McKenna and Karam did all the way back a couple of years ago. It will be Aaron Morgan in position to take advantage, just like Mark Cohn did, to claim his first ever Lionheart Racing Series victory. Look at Dirty Air, though. Sage Karam very, very wide through the corner, Dylan. That's going to be the story now of the next 10 miles here.
I think Matt Taylor, as long as he doesn't make a mistake...
Caution! Caution is out. DJ Clark, unfortunately, is involved in this one. And we were saying it was getting hectic, Dylan. Let's go take a look at just how hectic.
All right, let's catch this replay right here. And, well, the 65 does get way up high. Hits the wall out of 2. Oh, 43 gets into him, and then they combine for a spare. And
that was Danny Roberts. Very, very good run for him so far this season.
That's a shame.
And once more, no time to react, and a vicious contact for DJ Clark. And he was lucky not to get collected there as well, Dylan.
I don't necessarily think he was lucky to not get collected. I think other cars were lucky to not collect him.
That's true as well. Fair enough. But, oh my, we were talking about a 13-mile sprint to the end. We've got 10 laps to go as the drivers cross the line here. That should tick on over to 9 laps as well. If
anything, Arjuna, I'm sorry to cut you off. If anything, I think this helps Sage Karam more.
No, you're good. That's what I was going to say. I think in this short burst to the end, I think it will be 7 to go once we get back to those green flag conditions. Sage Karam, if he can get the start of his lifetime here, this will be his opportunity. At the same time, though, we were talking about Aaron Morgan. Let's highlight Matt Taylor, rookie in the series here, Dylan. He could be on the cards for a victory as well.
Yeah, he is currently in first place looking for that victory. If I remember correctly, he was very close to having a shot in race number 1 at Homestead and just did not work out for him. And you know what? There are drivers up front who, you know, Taylor could get that win. Karam, a 3rd straight. Morgan, his 1st win. This is just unbelievable. I love this series so much. It looks like we've got 1 to go here, Arjuna.
Still waiting for the lights to come off on the pace car. We might have
like the caution, the flag. Barney, or is it? It's Barney, right?
It is Barney. Yeah. Don't worry. He's got an official
Yeah.
Twitter account as well now. Lights are still on the pace car, so at least 1 more lap. Gonna try and do the math again as quickly as I can. I think 7 to go. I think I was right on that one, though. So 7 miles. That's what separates the likes of Matt Taylor and Aaron Morgan from their first Lionheart Retro Series victory. But Sage Karam looks to make it 3 victories to start off the season. And once more, let's emphasize this, Dylan. Next time out, we head to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park, the 4th different race that is going to be of wildly different complexion than what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, just a little bit. These races have had so much to offer in terms of speed and passing and maneuvering around the boot, the toe, the heel. And now we're getting to the dirtiness of it all, and the areas no one loves to see. But except for the car in front, it looks like the lights are out, by the way. Once we get to the oval of road courses in Mosport, we go to the mother of all triangles in Pocono, in Long Pond, Pennsylvania, my local track, as well as Sage Karum's local track. And it's going to end up being an extremely fun time over the course of the next few races. God, this is a great schedule we have here, Arjuna.
Still got the next couple of laps to look forward to then. It will be 6 miles to go at the line. Lights are off on the pace truck. Hopefully for the final time today, he makes his way out onto track. This race has never finished under cautions, despite the fact that the minimum number of cautions we've had is 8 in each of the 3 races so far. They've all finished under green flag conditions. And for a 4th year in 5 seasons in the Lionheart Retro Series, it looks like a new winner here from Phoenix. For hopefully the final time, the green flag waves and Matt Taylor leads us down into turn 1. Sage Karam hot on his heels, and just like Dylan was saying, this might be the opportunity for him to get on by.
Oh, he's going way down below the yellow line. He gets the inside position. Sage Karam, will he clear? It looks like he will. He is into P number 1.
Taylor will hold on. Morgan tries to make it 3 wide. Taylor will look back to the outside line on old worn tires. Will that be able to roll the momentum? Karam comes up into him. We've got 5 to go, and they are side by side down the back straightaway. For the race lead, it's Taylor and nose in front. Contact between the two of them. Taylor's up into the wall. Sage Karam is going to scamper away here. Aaron Morgan up into second, Dylan. With 4 miles to go, Karam is in the driver's seat.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Matt Taylor, but I do think it's just a racing incident. Taylor still trying to hold 3rd place around the outside of Callisto, but it looks like Sage Karam, he has all the cards to play with right now. It doesn't matter if there's a yellow, it would be his race. It's all up to Aaron Morgan. Can he get a first-time win? He's really close at the moment.
2 wide, 2 deep for 3rd on back. Taylor and Callisto and Zaldo and Forsyth, rookies by the way, are stamping their mark on this season so far. It's going to be one wild ride in the next 15 or so races, and Zaldo tries to get a number of positions as he sticks in 6th position, one of his best finishes in a couple of races time. Across the start-finish line once more though, Karam and Morgan ducking and diving here, and I do think at this point Sage Karam, Dylan, has this in the driver's seat.
I also think that, but Aaron Morgan has gotten a lot of speed down the front straight. I do wonder what his exit will be off of 4. 1 lap to go, Arjuna.
You could see, I think Craig Forsyth has gotten past Lionel Callisto. They're still side by side at the line. 1 mile to go. It's Sage Karam. Looks to make it 3 victories out of 3 to kick off this season. We've got a crash between Ariel Alanis and Chris Reagan on the final lap, but it will not matter. It's been a wild 175 laps here in the desert, but it's one name that's dominated so far in 2021, and Sage Karam takes victory in the KARNOX 175 at Phoenix. It was side by side across the line between Lionel Callisto and Craig Forsyth as well. What a finish there, Dylan, and wow, it was a bit of a stop and start race, but it came alive at the conclusion.
I am in awe of the move that Sage Karam made to take the position away from Matt Taylor, and while I do feel very bad for Matt Taylor and getting involved in that 2-tire to 2-tire incident with Karam, you know what? It was some good, hard, clean racing. None of them wanted to give it each other an inch.
And for the 3rd time this season, Karam finds himself in HyperX victory lane and celebrating with some well-earned donuts. I am seeing, by the way, Dylan, some consternation in our YouTube chat about that move. Sage Karam, it was a very aggressive move down below the line, but I wonder if Race Control will also see a slightly aggressive block there from Matt Taylor as well.
Yeah, I see nothing wrong with the move. There's no problem with passing below the yellow. If anything, Karam just found himself in a poor spot. If he could say that, and he pushed himself back up. There was room to get back up, and he got back up.
So these are your race results presented by KARNOX. They are unofficial. We should highlight that, especially with all the confusion that is ongoing at this time. But it is Sage Karam for the 3rd time this season that takes victory here in the desert. about 0.3 of a second back to Aaron Morgan. Two of the Avatar Auto racing cars do make their way onto the podium. I'm sure Matt Taylor will be slightly disappointed to not take his first Lionheart Retro Series win. Kalisto across the line in 4th. Craig Forsyth on debut in 5th position. Very impressive debut for the 53 car. George and Zalda maybe slightly cheesed that Forsyth didn't debut next week. Would have been another top 5 for the series organizer. Mike Razmas in 7th. Jean-Francois Matt in 8th. Robert Mikes for Uncontrolled Chaos in 9th position. And then Chris Fowler, pole position once more on the oval, 10th position come the end of the day. Alex Guyon in 11th, Dustin Wardlow in 12th, Ricky Harding in 13th position, Caleb Benke, Richie Hearn, Trevor Malone, Chris Lanini, Nick DeGroot, Adam Young and Isaac Snyder. That wraps up the top 20. Very interesting order here. You will also note, by the way, Richie Hearn with that 22.885, fastest lap of the race in the closing stages. For him, no lap record. We got oh so close, but didn't manage to pip it. Covey Moore in 21st. And then the final finishers on the lead lap, Danny Roberts, Chris Reagan, Ariel Alanis, and then Mark Cohen. Disappointing result for him. He looked to be the driver to be the first to win twice here at Phoenix. Unlucky for him. Slavonic 5 laps down in 26th. And then a number of our retirees, DJ Clark, Joe Hassett, Chris Staples, then Gary Corley rounds out the top 30. Final 5 cars, Paul Jenkins, David Sirois, Michael O'Brien, and then Mike Rigney, Ron Hacker involved in our first caution of the day. So Dylan, before we go down into our HyperX victory lane and get into our post-race coverage, I just want to get some thoughts there. We really are seeing, I think, a championship being made by Karam right now. 3 victories to kick off the season. It really is a championship statement.
Yeah, he said to us at the end of the Homestead Miami race, that win, that this is the year that he really thinks he's going to be able to grab a title. He really wants it. He's got the most wins of all time. But does that really matter when you don't have a championship to your name?
Well, not in his mind. That one I know for sure. So let's jump in then to our post-race show presented by HyperX, partners of the Lionheart Racing Series. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary ultra-comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com, and don't forget to use the promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15, for 15% off all orders. So we are still waiting for Sage Karam to make his way down into the HyperX victory lane. So I tell you what, let's do things in reverse order to how we usually do them, and let's bring in Matt Taylor, finishes in 3rd in rather disappointing fashion, I'm sure. He's standing by with Dylan Coyle.
Yep, we have Matt Taylor, the P3 finisher at Phoenix, alongside. And Matt, I'm sure you did want the win there, and I think the question that's on everybody's mind, do you feel like the move was legal by Karam on both the pass and when you touched tires?
On the contact, I went back and looked, and it was just some net code. So that kind of is what it is, but I don't think the pass was legal. He's that far below the yellow. We can do it on the last lap as far as I'm aware, but prior to that, I don't think he can get away with it.
So what we can say is, based on what Lionheart Race Control has put, that the rule is using below the line to gain an advantage, and Race Control says that he did not. He was on a run, had position, and got by cleanly. What do you feel about that?
I don't know what I'm supposed to do there then, because then I have to just run below the yellow the entire way into the corner and hope he lets me back up on the track. I don't know what I'm supposed to do there in that case then.
Understood. Well, I guess you could say it still was a fantastic run for you, and even though you still are on the podium and it's a good run on another oval, you feel like you can get a win very soon?
Yeah, I think so. We're somewhat fortunate a little bit there. Was really kind of a roulette wheel with how the cautions were going to fall and hoping they would either work out in your favor or at worst wouldn't trap you. And everything ended up working out even in the end.
So you get that caution with 15 or so laps to go, and it's almost like a reset. Did that hurt your strategy call at all?
It didn't hurt the strategy. That second caution gave Sage a second chance at it, which I didn't want. I was right where I wanted to be there. Felt like I could keep the draft broken enough to hold him back, and that reset gave him just enough gap there to get a run.
Well, Matt, we know you did want a little bit more, but still, it is a spot on the podium. Congratulations on that. We appreciate you stopping by.
Thank you, guys.
So that was Matt Taylor. Very impressive podium nonetheless, but you could hear slight disappointment there. Race control will be busy, and fortunately, Dylan, we don't have to partake in that decision-making process. Let's jump on over then to Aaron Morgan, who is standing by. Second place finish for him. It's been a very impressive opening couple of rounds for the 48 car. He's standing by with Dylan Coyle.
Yep, standing by with P2. Aaron Morgan. Aaron, you have now moved into a tie for 7th alongside Jason Galvin for Retro Series Top 5. You have 15. However, you're still waiting on that inaugural win. You were so close today. How's it feel?
Oh, it feels good. I'm just happy to get the double podium for the team, honestly. I finally, that's the first time with my team since we started entering last year. Almost had one with Sonoma, and I messed that one up. So I'm just glad to get it. And I wasn't really in the fight for the win, so I'm not too upset about, another second place. It's the third, but it is a pretty good race. Way better than I expected.
And I do want to know what your thoughts were about everything that happened in front when it did come down to Sage and Matt racing hard. Obviously, there's questions from Matt Taylor about the legality of it. You're just happy to see the two leaders almost coming together to give you the spots, right?
Well, I wouldn't have been too happy because, like I said, I was really wanting Matt to win it because, like I said, I wasn't really in the contention. I knew it was his race, and yeah, I'm a little disappointed for him. I can't really, I haven't seen enough of it, so I don't really know about the whole legality of it or anything. I'll have to watch it back, but I just was happy to get the podium. I really didn't expect to do that well this race, especially because I struggled so hard in the practice races and qualifying.
So you feel like even though you did struggle, you finish P2. Phoenix is a difficult track, and when there were all the cautions happening, did you just want to get lucky at a point? Is that anything that goes into your mindset? Let's just get lucky at Phoenix?
No, the only luck I was really hoping for was like avoiding wrecks. I didn't want to have somebody right in front of me wreck or smack the wall or anything. The fuel strategy with this car, it's very, I want to say easy, but if you just know the numbers, it's not too stressful of a strategy to figure out, especially when we have the whole team working on it together. So it was just more just not getting wrecked, really, especially when I started so far back. That's what scared me the most.
Understood. Well, Aaron, you are now tied for 10th in top 10s, tied for 7th in top 5s. You're well on your way to becoming one of the legends of this series. Just looking for that win. Thanks so much, and congratulations.
Thanks, man.
Not a problem. And Arjuna, I know we've got Sage coming up, and I think that's going to be the interesting one to talk to.
I love hearing the excitement from some of these drivers, just getting the results that they want in a series that they put a lot of time and effort into. Let's bring in Sage Karam. Third time this season he finds himself in HyperX victory lane. But Sage, a much more difficult race than I think either of the first two ones were for you. You had to work your way up through the field, and then some drama in the last 5 laps there.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a tough race starting where I did. I think I started like 21st, so had a lot of work to do, and just played some good strategy and was able to make up track position, going off strategy a little bit, and then the yellows kind of like fall into our hands a little bit there at the end. So yeah, I mean, I was happy that we got that last yellow to do like a little 6-lap shootout, because I didn't get a good jump on the first restart there, and don't think I would have been able to make a move, so when the yellow came out, I knew I had to just go for it. I stayed flat and won, where the other restart I didn't do that. So, I think that was the difference. I was able to get a run, and I know that there's some controversy on the move, but I don't know. I was just looking at it, and I mean, it's definitely not ideal, I guess, but I kind of had a run, and I looked left, and it's still a dotted line. It's not even the solid yet. And you know, he left the door open, and then I came up right as the line kind of turned solid. So I think it's legal. You know, race control said it's legal, so I guess that's it.
I guess that's it, indeed. Sage, you've started this season off with championship intent. You're just on the cusp of making Lionheart history as well. Victory for you at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park would see you become the first driver to win 4 Lionheart Retro Series races in a row. We've talked about in the last couple of weeks your hopes for a championship now, but you really are setting the statement and the championship pace as well. What do you think the middle part of the season is really going to hold for you, given how these first races have gone so far?
Yeah, I mean, I'm honestly just really surprised. You know, I didn't expect to have 3 wins right off the bat, so couldn't ask for, you know, a better start to the season. You know, we got Canadian Motorsports Park coming up next, which is my favorite track in the world, so that's always good to go to tracks you like. So looking forward to that. You know, I'm just hoping that I don't, you know, miss too many races for, you know, world stuff. Obviously, if I do, you know, that's good. You know, that means I'm racing and stuff, but you know, I do want to win this championship this year, so hopefully I can get to all of them and maximize the points. And yeah, I mean, like I said, it's been great. And also, I just felt bad for Matt there. You know, we had a bit of a net code at the end of the race there and took him out of the fight. So, you know, I already apologized to him and everything. So I felt bad for that. You know, you never want to see that. And, you know, that's just kind of part of it, you know, these net codes and stuff. So, yeah, I'm just gearing up, getting ready for the next one.
And it's been a busy week for you, Sage. You didn't just have this today. You had the iRacing IndyCar Challenge. Yesterday, you had the VCO Pro Sim Series as well. Must be good to look at a weekend now where you can just relax a little bit and look forward now to the next Lionheart IndyCar race.
Yeah, I mean, I was down in Charlotte on the sim for Chevrolet, doing that, you know, the other day. So I didn't get to do any practice for the VCO race, the IndyCar race, or this race. And, you know, I've been kind of nonstop the last 3-4 days on a sim. So I'm ready to kind of get off the sim and just kind of hang out and relax a little bit and get ready for some real life stuff.
Well, Sage, go and enjoy a well-deserved victory celebration right now, and I'm sure you'll be back in the sim with a full focus very shortly.
Yep, thank you guys.
So Sage Karam, 3rd time this season in HyperX victory lane, and what can you say, Dylan, other than it's going to be hard to stop in, and I think the rest of his competitors better be hoping that Sage Karam signs a full-time IndyCar deal for this season.
Yeah, I think that's what everyone is going to be hoping for. Sage Karam, just, wow. Arjuna, I want to hear your opinions on the move, though. I don't want to let you go without that. You put me on the hot seat. I'm putting you right back on it.
You know, I only got a brief glimpse of it because in the way that live broadcasts sometimes work, you look down at the wrong time. You were the one who was obviously calling that action, and I missed it. So what I saw from the replay was race control. If that's the rule, they've applied it correctly. He was on a run. He was already side by side, and I think I'm always fortunate that I'm not in race control anymore for some of these things that we get to do, because I don't know if you've done it, Dylan. It is one of the most difficult things you can do, because we don't like to use the netcode word too much, but it is a reality of online racing. Sometimes it just happens, and race control has to take that into account.
I was the umpire for an 8-year-old baseball game in Little League, and I never was again because it's really hard. Well, does that answer your question?
Well, in that environment as well, you've got the angry parents coming at you, so slightly other factors to deal with as well, right?
Yeah, that was never a fun part of it. That's, again, why I lasted 1 game.
Well, I tell you what, it's been a enthralling ride here at Phoenix. It's time to finally say goodbye. But Dylan, as mentioned, we will be back in action in a couple of weeks' time. We get a little bit of a break once more. We head north of the border to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. One more race in April, the first of our Triple Crowns.
Yes, the first of our Triple Crowns. And isn't that so nice to say? We're almost there. We're in the same month as a Triple Crown event. Mosport's going to be great, too. Let's not have Pocono just yet overshadow Mosport, because Mosport is a fast, flowing track with some great corners, some great action. Cannot wait to get there.
I'm just going to say it right now, Dylan. I think Sage is going to take victory at the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park. I'm just going to say it. He will already have had 16 victories in his Lionheart Retro Series career. I said 20 races he would have victories in by the end of the season. How many road courses do we have?
You asking me to do some math right now.
I'm telling you, it's more than 4.
Yes. Well, yes, it is more than 4. Okay, we've got that settled.
I'm almost 100% sure Karen will finish up this season with at least 20 victories, if not more. But I do think the championship has gone so dominantly for him this year. It just takes one mistake, and we've seen craziness on these ovals so far. One mistake, one big night where you lose out points, and that could be the momentum swinging back in the favor of another driver.
Yeah, and all it takes is one mistake, right? Just one mistake. That's all that needs to happen for a complete swing, like you said. So I think that Mosport is going to be more of Sage Karam dominating. I do believe so. I think that he's got road courses on tap just because of how used to just getting the most out of every single corner. He's used to that more than every other driver in this field. Just based off his real-world experience that is fresh and new, even though this car is obviously retro.
Well, and he also said it there, didn't he? He spent some time on the Chevy sim as well, so slightly different type of basis, I would say, but very much keeping his eye in. Let's take the time to wrap up here with our HyperX post-race show and thank the various partners and sponsors of the Lionheart Racing Series. First up, it's SimXperience, makers of the SimXperience AccuForce Pro V2, the premier professional simulation racing steering system. The key to its incredible realism is the groundbreaking direct drive motor control system, providing a driving experience that's second only to the real thing. For more information on the entire SimXperience ecosystem, visit simexperience.com. The Lionheart Racing Series is powered by HyperX, makers of premier gaming gear like the legendary Ultra Comfortable Cloud line of gaming headsets. Whatever you play, however you play, HyperX knows that we're all gamers. For more information on HyperX products, visit hyperxgaming.com and don't forget to use promo code Lionheart15, that's LIONHRT15 for 15% off all orders. For sim racers, the Butt Kicker Gamer 2 or Simulation Kit adds the missing driver-to-car connection, bringing more realism to your sessions. By accurately responding to in-game audio, you can feel the track like never before, providing increased vehicle handling and faster lap times. Are you ready for the most immersive experience in sim racing? For more information, visit thebuttkicker.com and don't forget to use promo code LION2021 for 20% off all orders. Minus 273 is the premier name in karting gloves. Their industry-leading gloves are super lightweight and durable, made of breathable poly spandex. Whether you're a kart or sim racer, Minus 273 gives you the control to reach victory lane. For more information on Minus 273's full line of gloves and apparel, visit minus273.biz and don't forget to use the promo code Minus273LHRS15 for 15% off all orders. Looking for entertaining sim racing content? Look no further than the DMLC Racing channel. Follow former Lionheart Retro Series Driver of the Year Mark Cohn's racing escapades as he battles for wins, avoids wrecks with cat-like reflexes, all while providing commentary sure to make you laugh, cry, or both. Follow along by subscribing to the DMLC Racing channel on YouTube and like his Facebook page at the DMLC Racing channel. It's not just these sponsors, it's the ones up on your screen as well to help power the Lionheart Racing Series powered by HyperX. For more information on all of these partners, visit LionheartRacingSeries.com. And to learn more about the series as well, head to the series Discord, which you can find a link for on the Lionheart Racing Series website. Before we go, Dylan, I just want to get some final thoughts from you here, because 3 absolutely chaotic races, and I said it on a number of occasions in today's broadcast, I have loved the up and down nature of these races so far, and if we continue to get this all the way through to December in the Auto Club Speedway, it's going to be a very enjoyable ride to be a part of.
It's been so exciting so far, right? Like that's the entire thing. It's been so exciting. Homestead was great. Watkins Glen was a very good road course race. And Phoenix, with all the dirty air, produced a very exciting, if a bit controversial ending. And you know what? That's the kind of ending I want to be a part of, night in, night out, unless I'm race control. But as a broadcaster, it's been very exciting so far. Mosport, Pocono, and then we've got the rest of the schedule to come up. We're not even a third of the way through once we're done this month.
So HyperX Victory Lane has become familiar territory for Sage Karam. 3 race victories to start off his Lionheart Retro Series campaign, and he really has set the championship intent down for the rest of his competitors to deal with. 2 more races in April. First up, we head to the Canadian Tire Motorsports Park on April 15th before a couple of weeks later, our first Triple Crown of this season as we head to the Tricky Triangle. Lots more Lionheart action to come though on RaceSpotTV and ESTV, so a reminder to follow us for more esports action. And if you're not already subscribed to RaceSpot on YouTube, hit the red button and the bell next to it to get notified every single time we go live with a great sim racing series we get to cover. On behalf of the RaceSpotTV team then, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to this round of the Lionheart Retro Series. My name is Arjuna Kenkipati, I've been joined by Dylan Cole, and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time for continued Lionheart Retro Series action.